It isn't often that I'm watching a video and I get emotional. And this happened recently with this Douglas Murray video talking to the Free Press, talking about the October 7th victims and what they're going through. I'm just going to play the video. It definitely speaks for itself.
About the only thing that would bring the reality of this home. I mean, if these students who do this, if they realize that they had any imagination, if they had any sympathy or empathy, can you imagine that? Of course, they don't imagine. Imagine that the Nova Party had taken place in New York. Imagine that at 6:30 in the morning, rockets started to land over your head. Imagine within about 20 minutes, big bearded men with machine guns and Kalashnikovs and grenades came and raped your friends in front of you and then killed them in front of you and then came for you next. And in your last moments, that was what you saw. One of the, without getting too gruesome, but let me just perhaps do so for once to hit home the point. One of the people who I interviewed who had been in the Nova Party had said at one point that there was a young girl on her knees. One of the Hamas terrorists had killed her best friend in front of her. And they were debating whether or not they should take her into Gaza or kill her. And she was screaming, "Please don't kill me, please don't kill me." And they shot her through the face, and she was still shouting that when her face fell off. That's what these guys are. Does any student in America understand this, or can have any understanding that these people would do that to them? My just prayer is that they don't, that they're simply lacking in imagination. But if this happened to them, and if this happened to them and they, like the Nova survivors, came to New York for an exhibition about the Nova Party, and then they find in the streets of New York outside the exhibit American students and others chanting support for the people who did this to their friends, I don't know how some of these, they're so brave, these young people, to still be going around the world telling their story. When they go around much of the world and they meet people they tell their story to, who are supporting the people who did it. This is a level of human evil I don't think that, human lack of empathy, perhaps I can say, that is beyond my comprehension. I just want to say one other thing on that. We have seen something like this before. We saw it in the 60s and 70s when part of the left in Europe decided to take up the cause of the PLO. You know, very interestingly, one of the things about the Entebbe raid that people don't realize is that two of the hijackers were members of the German left. One of them used to live with former Foreign Minister Schröder. And they had decided after World War II, there was one thing they wouldn't be, which was they wouldn't be Nazis. And this is quite a good idea. It's a good orienting principle, you know. Don't be Nazis. But I just want to stress that that isn't enough on its own, not with other moral cause to you, not with other things in your system. Because by the 60s, the PLO and all of those groups, some of the German left fell into that. And one of the things about the Entebbe hijacking, which is not well enough known, is that when the plane was landed in Uganda, the main hijacker, the German leftist, sorted out the passengers, Jews and non-Jews. Mm-hmm. Jews and non-Jews. Now, it wasn't just Israelis and non-Israelis. They got the American Jews into the line with the other Jews. And there was a man on the plane at Entebbe, one of several people on the plane who was a Holocaust survivor. And as he heard this German left-winger shouting orders to the Jews after the selection process, he showed his tattoo from the camp and said, "I had thought that people had changed." And the hijacker has been quoted by several people present as having said to that man, "I'm not a Nazi, I'm an idealist." We've seen these people before, but we've seen them off before.
That's exactly the message, is that people don't realize the level of disgusting hatred that they're espousing right now. And a lot of these leftist ideologues on college campuses and around the world do not understand to the level of dehumanization that they've subjected Israelis to. And I just want to applaud Douglas Murray for that incredible, just bringing to life a little bit of what the Nova Festival survivors and what the October 7th survivors, as well as almost all Israelis, are going through right now. For more, you can subscribe to the channel. If you want to help us make more of these videos, you can also subscribe to our channel memberships.